This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map BattleBase Beta. In the north as the Red Soviets. I believe this player is October. And in the south as the Cyan Empire. We've seen him before, but it's been a little while. This is Zugspitze. A Chinese player with a German name that I've tried fairly... Oh, okay. I was so confused. I didn't see this refinery here, and I was like, he's going to refinery, but one of them is the far refinery. But no, it's a 3-refinery opening from Zugspitze, who I have tried very hard to learn how to correctly pronounce the name. And that's really just thanks to those of you in the comments who have given me basically phonetic pronunciation guides for, I believe, a German mountain that I had no idea how to pronounce correctly, but you guys have kind of guided me in that sense. Anyways, double refinery into a war factory for October. By the way, you'll see at the end of the game, or if any of the text pops up, both of these guys' names are just hyphens. So when someone sent in these replays, they gave me names, and apparently one of them is Zugspitze, who we've seen a number of times in some tournaments even, and did pretty well against Demon. But the other player, October, I'm less familiar with. But we get ourselves a Soviet versus Empire match on BattleBase Beta. And that seems pretty darn interesting to me. And, you know, the Chinese server runs a little bit... I don't know that there's actually a server, but the Chinese community runs a little bit... out of the loop with a lot of the rest of us. They do sometimes show up on the CNC Online server. I'm not sure what service they use, if they just use one of those network emulators like Hamachi or whatever. Ooh, the Terror Drone gets eliminated. The dojo is safe for now. I'm not sure what service they use for playing their games, but sometimes you do see them show up on CNC Online, but then they also do run their own stuff separate. And so it's like, you know, they'll post videos to Bilibili, as I believe one of their video hosting platforms. And so there's, you know, Red Alert 3 content creators in China that, you know, there's a decent number of people who still watch Red Alert 3 in China, kind of surprisingly. And this is 2 of those players. Naval Yard going to be going down, giving him that protection against terror drones. And the Mecha Bay up and running. We get ourselves terror Tengus coming on out of that. Not terror drones, as I almost said there, which would be quite terrifying if an Empire player could produce terror drones as well. Allied players might actually have some trouble in that case. 3rd refinery going to be coming up before the super reactor, so this is a super delayed tier 2. This is entirely dependent on terror drones. He built a wall there. This is like a wall swag going on here from Zugspitze, which wall swag was a build order Eminence developed on Infinity Isle, which was actually a fast 3-refinery build order, and it was entirely dependent on just keeping your opponent's army at bay, utilizing walls. And the kind of crux of the build was you basically hope that your opponent doesn't go really hard into air. And so if they go ground army, you can just kind of keep them at bay with walls, and you get 3 refineries up, you get your tier 2 relatively quick, and then you're in a normal spot, but you kind of controlled the game your way. And this is kind of what Zugspitze is doing, actually. He's been able to get his 3 refineries up. He actually went Naval Yard, which would have delayed this even more, but he's kind of forcing the game into this weird place that we do not normally see, even going to be forcing the cancel of that Tesla coil. And this is just such a bizarre game and such a bizarre series of builds, as we now have both players deployed on the front line and the walls being constantly canceled and rebuilt. Nice roar there, gets a couple of tank busters, excuse me, as that bear gets the kill on at least 1 or 2 of those tank busters. 1 more does remain frozen for the current moment. The building will be broken eventually. A couple of Molotov cocktails going to try and clear out that building so the Hammer Tank can get the crush. But of course, down into their hidey hole go those tank busters. Another Tesla coil does get canceled. And again, this is such a bizarre build. What is he even buying time for? I'm not sure what this is doing. This almost feels like it's some sort of bizarre part of like a Eureka rush, but we don't have the Tier 3. We do have Tier 2 out of the Naval Yard and possibly, or excuse me, out of the War Factory and possibly out of the Naval Yard as well, but that remains to be seen if we'll get any Naginatana cruisers or anything. Airfield kind of on the front lines, and not a lot of harassment has happened in this game, but I think that's about to change as we do have Tengus flying around the place, trying to find some kind of an opening, some kind of an opportunity to strike down October. And, well, for now, not going to find anything. It's just up to the choppers and to the Tengus to try and get some value out of this game, because in the middle of the map, it's just kind of losing value very slowly for Zugspitze. Crusher Crane going to be going down for October, and it looks like the sentry gun is going to be dealt with quite quickly there. The flak cannon almost up. It's going to be down to about half health by the time it finishes, but it will be able to deal with those chopper VXs eventually. A nice transform there as the Bullfrog does show up, and it looks like the Tengus are going to be able to finish off that flak cannon. So very nicely done by Zugspitze. Already going to be starting on the second sentry gun. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, it looks like October has pushed forward. He has broken the front line, but with a paltry attack, there isn't a whole lot here. The weird development of this game has led to a weird mid-game as the Harvesters do eventually go down. And this Hammer Tank barely shows up in time to push away some battered and bruised Empire units, but at the same time, one Twin Blade does get sniped right out of the sky there, and Zugspitze, despite the fact that his front line was broken, he didn't even need to move his MCV. That's how secure of a position he was actually in there. Meanwhile, back in the north, another Tengu does get eliminated. I think maybe a Bullfrog right on the edge of range there did manage to clean that up. It looks like most of the Chopper VXs did manage to survive that engagement, so the harassment was fairly successful, cleaning up a sentry gun, cleaning up a flak cannon for minimal losses. Also, one ore collector down, the second one extremely damaged, going to be slowly harvesting those resources, but also it's going to be weaker for a bit of a run by if that happens later. Wall segments getting cleared out. It's going to be the Twin Frog composition that we all have seen and love so much, but it kind of worries me because Twin Frog can be dealt with, and especially with a map like BattleBase Beta where there are so many cliffs and edges, Twin Frog can get really split up really quickly, and in this particular case, well, the Bullfrogs are literally just getting jumped on by those Tengus. They do get some nice shots off. Single Yari Minisub going to be circling around to the right side there, but of course not a lot of naval action happening for our Soviet player, so not a lot for that Yari Minisub to actually do. Quite possibly behind the scenes, there's been a slow tech up to Tier 3, but no, I don't see the nanotech mainframe core or anything coming out for Zugspitze, so I guess he's not going Shoguns or anything. This is just sort of his battle plan for the current minute is all VX, all Tengu, no tsunami tanks. He wants the option to just fly away if he can, and one single Tesla coil will be able to hold off this attack for the current moment. We'll be able to strike down that Striker as well. Goodbye, Striker, with the help of the stasis from that terror drone. One Hammer Tank going to try and break down those walls, and one thing that you have to give to... Okay, he did actually go Tier 2, and now he's got the world's slowest harass, but it will eventually kill this Harvester, and October has not restarted that Harvester just yet. This is a great little combo move. Keep them busy in the middle of the map while you do just this little bit of damage. Oh no, the Stingray, the Sea-Wing rather, almost going to be getting cleaned up by that MiG, but the MiG will be forced away, and now they're kind of in this infinite, they cannot kill each other kind of situation. The Sea-Wing can't reach the MiG, and the Sea-Wing, well, if it ever does transform, will be instantly killed by that MiG and just deleted from the game. 4 or 5 Twin Blades, 4 or 5 Bullfrogs here on the map for October, and he's trying to find an angle that works for him. He's going to be able to poke in, do a little bit of damage to the Conyard. That's the nice thing about utilizing those rockets is you can just rock up, take some shots off at the MCV, and then back away and wait for them to recharge. And you can just try and poke down your opponent in that way. No Hammer Tanks means that there aren't any crushes available to October for this engagement, so infantry are definitely a viable option here as they're going to try and break the front line of October, and October is going to have to pull in his reinforcements to try and stop this attack, but Zugspitze does call it off. He doesn't want to engage that Tesla coil, at least not at the current moment. And his entire air army actually just lost his extra defense there. There's going to be the reclaim of those point defense drones very nicely by Zugspitze. And the walls are actually now coming down in the color of red. The MiG and this Sea-Wing still just staring at each other. A flak cannon going to make that MiG's job a little bit easier so the MiG can finally hunt down the Tengus and the choppers when they are actually in the air and out of range of those bullfrogs. Slowly but surely, it feels like October is getting all of the pieces that he needs to be able to try and break Zugspitze. I do love the inclusion of the crane pretty much on the front line. He's got that little bit of repair that helps him out since he doesn't have it on his war factory. You might as well put it down there on the front line where all of the action is happening, and it's also near his airfield, which is nice for all of his MiGs and his twin blades. Tengus are looking for an angle. They almost found it. They almost were able to clip down a couple of those twin blades. More wall segments going to be broken, but sooner or later these guys are going to be looking for an engagement. Such an awkward opening to this game has led to such an unconventional mid-game. And just the way these two army compositions work out, there has not been a lot of harassment. Part of that is our Soviet player has indeed kept himself on land, which is where I'm guessing Zugspitze was really hoping that his Yari mini-subs were going to be able to do more against the forces or against the economy of October, but October is like, I'll just sit on my 3 refineries and my oil derrick. That is one thing I would like to see from both players, actually, is a little bit more harassment of those oil derricks. They're relatively soft targets, and with the cliffs that surround them, you can usually poke in and do some damage over time to maybe not kill the oil derrick in one fell swoop, but to get through the oil derrick eventually, maybe in 2 rounds or 2 attacks. All right, Twin Blades and Bullfrogs, they're doing a really good job of sticking together at this current moment. Defense does go down, and almost the Bullfrogs get caught away from the Tengus, or from the Twin Blades, but it doesn't actually happen. So the Twin Blades do get the kill on that Defender core, and the Bullfrogs do keep the Twin Blades safe. Slowly but surely, October is starting to carve a space for himself in this game. The Sea-Wings come up to the surface, as does that Yari mini-sub, and all 3 of them removed from the game. Careful, precise moves by October, and he's actually forcing a little bit of awkwardness from Zugspitze. He's going to be responding, but we did see a Wave Force artillery out on the field now. How many Tengus are actually going to be going down? Zugspitze decides to give 2 or 3 of them away for literally no reason. He's just parked over those Bullfrogs. Even more Tengus going down, only 5 remain, and the Toxin's also going to be coming down as the Chopper VX is going to be targeting down the airfield and potentially even the Crusher Crane as well, shutting down this front line, shutting down those repairs and that production, as this may actually be a bit of an awkward base trade scenario. We'll have to see if the superior tech coming out from Zugspitze actually helps him in this case, or if it's just dead weight. 1 refinery down, the MCV chased away from the front lines, but I guess that happened a little while ago. The airfield going to be getting rebuilt, and these Bullfrogs going to be keeping these Twin Blades safe for the foreseeable future. All right, the Twin Blades split off. This would be some kind of an angle for Zugspitze to try and get in here, but he really is just not finding any good angles to stopping these Twin Blades, to stopping these Bullfrogs. This is a completely unmatched composition with the way that October is handling this. He's been so careful. As you notice, I mean, the game has ticked on, and October is just now finding his first big win with utilizing his army comp. He's had to be so slow about this. He has not been able to bust down the front door. He has not been able to get in and do some damage quickly. It's all been slow. It's all been careful moves by October. But I mean, you know, Zugspitze has really been having the same problem. He also hasn't been able to do any quick damage or bust down the front door of his opponent. It's just been looking for little openings and opportunities, and finally, October had enough units. He had enough units to break down the naval base and to overwhelm what little defense was there, and to just break through it all. But of course, the oil derrick does get claimed there. Nice cash back by October as well. Going to be getting a little bit of cash from that oil derrick. Oh, that's Wave Force Artillery. I was wondering what was attacking the oil derrick of October. I was like, they're both killing the oil derrick of their opponent, but it was not quite the kill for Zugspitze. His Wave Force Artillery didn't actually get the kill, and that Terror Drone, I mean, I guess it took a little bit of damage, but that was not nearly enough of a charge on that Wave Force Artillery. Oh, man, October, he's being so abusive of this ledge. This is such an awkward place because of the SimCity, because of the design of the map. It's such an awkward angle for Zugspitze to try and defend. These harvesters are so exposed, and he did nothing to try and establish any kind of defense there earlier. If he had something, like if he had a couple of defender cores in this area, it might have bought him enough time to actually mount a defense, but by the time his units get there, the army has already pulled away. It's already done the damage, and he just doesn't have an answer at the current moment. Tank Busters may actually be getting some free damage and some free kills against one of those hammer tanks. The other one almost going to be going down, but barely does manage to escape before the Twin Blades rather, kill off every single Tank Buster, every single Imperial Warrior. And that hammer tank with those heroic Tank Busters targeting it down nearly died, but it did not. The Wave Force Artillery just won, just a single Wave Force Artillery running around the map that hasn't had the opportunity to build up its Wave Force Artillery brethren. Because really, if you have 2 or 3 Wave Force Artillery, you can do a lot more than just with the one. And this is the one opportunity that Zugspitze might actually be getting this game. The Twin Frog is finally split up, but it's because there are 7 or 8 MiGs here in the defense of these Twin Blades. And this is an unfortunate moment for Zugspitze because, of course, if he had the units in position, he could win the fight overall. But, of course, the Strikers would have to be doing the majority of that heavy lifting. And I think they would do enough damage against the clumped-up Twin Blades that it would be okay. But in this case, he is nowhere near that front line where that action is actually happening. In October, he's just finding these little ways. This is not a quick solution kind of game, but October wants to play with a highly mobile army, and he's getting to do that, but it just means that this game he does not have the striking power that he would have if he went more of a traditional, like, hammer tank, flak trooper, bullfrog kind of army with Twin Blades as a later game support. If there was more of a focus on a ground army, this match would have played out completely differently. And I wonder how much of this is October's playstyle. Does he like to be very mobile? Does he like to have those options available to him? Or is it because of the bizarro way that this game developed with the walls in the middle of the map? This is certainly not how we see games normally play out on BattleBase Beta. In some ways it feels sloppy, and in some ways it feels very careful. It's this weird kind of situation where, unless this is just how the Chinese meta is, that walls are super common on BattleBase Beta like this, and everyone plays all air all the time, then in that case, this might just be a sloppy game, but it feels like these guys are kind of reacting to the weird way that this is developed, and I think Zugspitze had an idea, and it didn't pan out for him, or October was just really good at adapting to what Zugspitze was throwing at him. But I feel like Zugspitze was supposed to get to Wave Force Artillery, and not just one of them, more like 2 or 3 or 4. I feel like that was the plan. Get to Wave Force Artillery, get to 3 refineries, and then start pushing from there, but it kind of never happened. And he went pretty big on the Tier 2, but then we didn't see a really harassment-heavy style. We saw that one big push-out of harassment, and then that was pretty much it. The bears do eventually all get cleaned up, and, well, goodbye bears right there, but the majority of the army of Zugspitze is just getting pulled all around the map, and there isn't a whole lot that he's doing about it. He's not really trying to engage this directly. Even Satellite's going to be getting called down, I think, on a completely blank area. Yeah, he was hoping to get lucky and smash down some of the army there, but it did not happen. 3 refineries up and running. I've not been doing a good job of keeping on track of the expansions of Zugspitze, but October now out on the water as well, so he's got himself long-distance mining over here. We saw that ore collector heading that way earlier, but he's got himself 3 actual refineries, and then I guess whatever you could call this, which is like 1/1000th of a refinery in terms of income provided per minute. The Tengus are going to find an angle, but then the Strikers aren't here. They were too far away. And that was almost a money engagement because Twin Blades, they trade okay versus Strikers, but Twin Blades have a real tendency to bunch up, unlike Strikers on the ground, and that is when those Strikers just do insane amounts of kind of accidental splash. When the Twin Blades are all cozied up next to each other, the Strikers can just break them apart so quickly. And the spread on the ground tends to be a little bit wider, so the missiles of the Twin Blades don't do that huge damage. Both of these guys getting into pretty large armies. October staying extremely low tech relative to the game length, just holding on to that mid-game, holding on to that Tier 2 setup, and choosing to delay his Tier 3 for an extremely long time. It is not coming up. I saw something on the build queue, and it was actually just a third airfield for potentially 12 MiGs. And these guys are very cautious, we'll put it that way, in this game. MCV repositioned by Zugspitze. He might be trying to potentially push in just like slowly but surely. And also, yep, there we go. 4th refinery going to be potentially coming out. He knows he can't take this water expansion. These guys have kind of reversed positions from where they were earlier in this game. But he can't take the water expansion. He can potentially take that land expansion and keep it a little bit safer. Oh man, those Twin Blades just barely out of range, and then the damage from that Defender Core actually splits between the two different Twin Blades that it attacked, so no kills there. MCB going to be getting chased away from the middle of the map, and these hammer tanks may actually be able to be dealt with, but MiGs are going to be coming in to support those hammer tanks, and the Tengus are going to try and find an angle to clear out the air forces, but it's just not going to work, and I don't even know what Zugspitze can really do in this situation. It might just kind of, he might just kind of get slowly pushed out of this game. I mean, he could go all in with an attack, but the Army of October feels a lot more robust. It feels like he's got the better composition. Although we'll see. Tankbuster's getting some free damage off. That's not a bad way to start, but not nearly enough to break October in this situation once again. All right, there we go. That's the optimal place for all of those Tengus and Chopper VXs to get the best range of those point defense drones. He got pretty much everything. But, one more Wave Force Artillery. I'm not sure what this game even is turning into, as Zugspitze is looking to, well, he's going to lose his 4th base again, this 4th refinery. But Zugspitze is looking to get just one Wave Force Artillery for some reason. I'm not sure what his deal is with just this single Wave Force Artillery. You know, if you want to go ground, maybe go a little bit more ground. If you want to go air, good luck. Rocket Angels? Who even knows? What are you even supposed to build Empire to do this other than just, like, Infinity Tengus? But is he gonna... Oh, the Soviet engineer gets sniped. You might as well just kill the observation post. I don't even know... I didn't even realize that Zugspitze had got both of those, but he has indeed. All right, Zugspitze is gonna be... Nah, never mind. I thought he was moving down. I thought he was looking to take an engagement, but he is not. October's still not wanting to take this. I feel like that high ground refinery would be a pretty easy target for him to just hold it. I mean, maybe even drop a flak cannon there, maybe even drop a Tesla coil there. It's worth it if you can take this 4th refinery back, if you can get that 10 grand that's inside of that oil there, or inside of that ore mine. If you can hold it for the rest of the game, or for the next couple of minutes, that would be worth it. Another building goes down, another Imperial Warrior gets eliminated. 4th refinery eventually going to be coming up as well. And, well, goodbye Wave Force Artillery. And actually, this refinery core is almost certainly going to die. Nope, he does pull it back at the last moment. There's satellites getting called down on that MCV as well. And these satellites are partially here just to stop an army from engaging with this. And the Tank Buster doesn't manage to save that refinery core. Goodbye, refinery. Very unfortunate there for Zugspitze. as Toxins also kind of get dropped on his army. A couple of MiGs step forward, but they get annihilated as this Twin Frog combination is looking to be a little bit more like the classic Twin Frog and a little bit less like Twin Blade MiG, which is what we did have. But don't worry, there's still like 40 MiGs left on the map, and they are going to try and, I don't know, do something. Like if the Chopper VXs stay on the ground, then the MiGs have limited value because the Tengus can potentially just engage the Twin Blades. No, they're a little bit cautious here, a little bit careful as they do transform to kill off all of the bears, and these Twin Blades are trying to find the right angle. This is such an awkward engagement for both players as they're trying desperately to claim some kind of a proper engagement in this situation. Babybert sounding off as well. He's also trying to find the correct angle for that engagement, but Babybert has to go to sleep. He's got himself a bedtime to adhere to. And unfortunately, this observation post may not be held by October for very long, so he produced at least 2 engineers to take that, and actually this Mega Mag might just be going down. That would actually be the better target here for those Twin Blades. Even if you have to sacrifice a couple of them to get the kill, it would be worth it. I mean, the MiGs will trade against those Tengus, but killing off that Tier 2 Mecha Bay, or that Tier 3 Mecha Bay, rather, would be worth it. Refinery does go down, unable to defend that refinery against like 3 or 4 twin tank busters. Actually, I guess it was 5 because it was the tank buster surprise support power almost certainly. And the MiGs do get taken completely to town by these Tengus, and that was a horrible angle for the MiGs. I cannot believe how bad of an angle that was for those MiGs. So many minutes of being careful, so long of a time of being very careful with the MiGs and the angles and the Twin Blades, and then that attack, and Zugspitze almost gets more lucky, but he was present in the moment to jump on that opportunity and reset the MiG count, which, considering that the rest of the army escaped rather unscathed, it's not going to be all that crazy for October to rummage up the cash to be able to rebuild those MiGs, but he's definitely not going to be adding too much more to his army in the meantime other than the MiGs, if that is what he chooses to rebuild, 2 of them at a time it looks like. And he's a little bit strapped for cash anyways. Decides to sell off one of those, I don't know what he just refunded into the Crusher Crane, but he decides to sell off one of those airfields anyways. Refinery out here still unharassed. So many opportunities that Zugspitze was trying to create for harassment earlier in this game, and then it all is just not even happening. And Emperor's Rage comes in here as the Bullfrogs closing the distance with the hammer tanks as well on the ground, and the Toxins coming in, but the ground army still stands. Is there enough anti-air? Yes, there is! October overestimating how much his ground army was going to be able to do there, driving directly into the Toxins. As it turns out, anti-air is better with that Emperor's Rage than the Twin Blades are without it. The refinery gets eliminated or sold off there. I'm not sure if that was the Wave Force artillery or something else, but the Twin Blades going to be coming back in, and they just get absolutely shredded. And for like a 20-minute build-up, not much of a showing at the end there. October and Zugspitze going to be just kind of engaging at that one major time, and then that was it. Overall, Zugspitze doing a pretty good job of keeping up economically. He was ahead because of that faster 3rd refinery, but then eventually got passed by October as he headed towards the stars. The sky, the stars? One of those two things. Ending the game with almost 17,000 credits more than his opponent, and not able to make it work. What a bizarre game on BattleBase Beta, and that's something I haven't seen before. I don't remember seeing a map get split quite like that and forcing both players to be so mobile in their army compositions, but then not really doing that much harassment. I mean, October did a decent amount of harassment, but he was really only able to pick off the stuff right on the edges and not able to really do that critical damage or that critical slowdown to Zugspitze that he was hoping to, and that will do it. So almost by the hair of his chinny chin chin, Zugspitze takes the win in that game, and that'll do it for this video, for this game. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Sybert signing out.